Hello everyone, this is Tom Fox and I would like to welcome you to episode 70 of the FCPA Compliance and Ethics Report. Today, along with Mike Brown, we're going to have World Cup Report Part 3. In this, we take a look at the issue of following the money in due diligence, the U.S. tie against Portugal, and its upcoming game against Germany. Hello everyone, this is Tom Fox and I'd like to welcome you to Part 3 of my FCPA Compliance Report, which deals with the World Cup. As with my previous episodes, I had my good friend and colleague Mike Brown, Managing Director at Infertile, to join us. Hey, Mike, how's Oregon today?
Oregon's lovely. It's going to be a little rainy today, I think, though.
Okay, well, we're getting storms here in Houston, so temperatures pretty mild for us in July. As I mentioned, we are on Part 3 of our World Cup series. And we're recording this on Wednesday, the 25th, I think. And tomorrow, the U.S. plays its final match against Germany. So we'll definitely get to that. We'll review either the great 1 point we got or the heartbreak. I'm not sure which, or perhaps even both. And talk about some of the other things from Luis Suarez's bites to some flops and some refereeing controversies. But as always, we want to use the World Cup as sort of a lessons learned or teaching event. And one of the things I've been intrigued about that I've certainly heard you and Candace talk about in deep dive due diligence is to follow the money. Can you explain to us why that's important and how you might suggest we think about that in the context of the World Cup?
Yeah, that's a great question. The issue that you want to do with the due diligence part and following the money is that you want to be looking for the deep pools of opportunities when you can get into issues such as things like problems when it comes to bribery in this case, right? So the idea is that if you look at the financial assets, you look at the different issues that can be raised by following the money. Some of the things that you would just look at is does this person or entity, do they represent themselves accurately and effectively? So just to try to keep it short, if you follow the money, understand where the assets are and how they're done and how they're used, then you have a good chance of understanding potentially where the risk of having different kind of issues actually arise.
Mike, is it important that at least for a anti-bribery or anti-corruption perception that assets be located in a country or territory that is open and transparent as opposed to one of the offshore banks or something like that? Personally,
I think anything that you're going to actually have of this size and magnitude has to be transparent. FIFA is a non-profit, non-commercial entity. They do a pretty good job of reporting their financials. If we want to tie it back into the World Cup, interestingly enough, the FIFA organization itself actually doesn't have a compliance officer even on the executive staff or in the organization at all. But coming back to the question about transparency in financials, I think it's critical that the financials are transparent and easily able to be sort of seen about where the money is spent, how the money is spent, who's spending the money, what are the reasons why the money is spent. All of the the deep sort of due diligence things that you have to ask within the opportunity. So,
and from what I've learned about you and Candace and you all's company, you're really looking at a much broader scope than simply anti-corruption due diligence. You're really looking at business intelligence and how certainly my part of it fits into that. But you guys are looking at a much broader scope. Could you explain that broader scope and how a company might use the information you guys could gather? Yeah,
I mean, as you look at sort of the enhanced due diligence, when you're looking for even FCPA or the UK Bribery Act, the whole idea is that to do something holistic, you start have to sort of looking at basically, just a simple list of history of the business. Is there a criminal record? Are there civil litigations? Does the employee or the worker, is there evidence of people actually working at operations? And so you start looking at, for information, for example, that might be undisclosed information that becomes seen through deep media research. What I mean by deep media research is that, you go in country, you look at local languages, you look at newspapers and journals and periodicals, you do an internet search, and you do a deep internet search that's also in country and in local languages. So, that also gives then the aspects of how well oriented and done and developed is the internet presence, for example. So, when we look at this enhanced due diligence, I mean, that's just a very small part of the kind of deep things that we look at when you look for businesses. So.
And one of the things that we talked about that intrigued me on your discussion about the World Cup was, in terms of follow the money, was the amount of money was actually just in raw ticket buying. So you talked to me about the number of tickets sold in the U.S. and why that's significant. How does that relate to all of this?
Well, specifically in the World Cup, there's about $4 billion worth of tickets. I think something along the lines of hundreds of thousands of tickets at like $900 or something along that lines. There's, when you look at that kind of dollars, there's things like fake tickets that get into place. You can actually then sell tickets that don't have any aspects of being able to get into the events. But ticket sales is just one really small part of where the money is actually flowing in the FIFA part. I mean, you have to look at the beginning part, like you look at construction. And right now in Brazil, they talked about huge overruns. I'm talking about probably $15 billion worth of constructions fees, let alone TV rights, let alone any of the other kinds of things that you might see throughout FIFA in this big aspect of stuff. Matter of fact, Brazil talks about the effect of the FIFA organization, that future amount of money that they're going to generate is something in the range of $27 billion. And that's doubling or even quadrupling the travel part. And if you've seen on the TV part, the U.S. alone is bringing in something like 4 times the number of people of any other country. Like 200,000 tickets have been sold to U.S. Participants. So in this case, quite a bit of money is spent on tickets at this event. So.
And I guess I was fairly stunned to see the numbers that ESPN generated with the game against Portugal, which was actually greater viewership than the final game of the NBA championship this year. It didn't rival the Super Bowl, but in terms of a sporting event, the numbers ESPN generated were huge, which in turn will lead to huge TV contracts.
Yeah, the part that was fascinating about the TV numbers is ESPN had something like nearly 20 million viewers, but the Spanish network had something like 6.5 million viewers.
Right. Something
along the lines of 24.5 million viewers for the game. So you're seeing a big U.S. contingency, but you're also seeing then a Spanish language network that's, I think, one of the highest viewed sporting events they've ever had.
Right.
So that's pretty exciting. And then, like you said, the TV part will become a big sponsorship issue going forward, which brings you into this other sort of issues when you have the Qatar issues, in the summertime, and then the idea of moving that to the wintertime and then competing with the U.S. Football League. It just doesn't seem to make any bit of sense to continue that process. So.
Well, let's see. Let's leave Qatar for next week because I'd like to turn now to, and using your introduction of the number of Americans who bought tickets, the commentators I listened to who had actually attended the U.S.-Portugal game not only said that it was just like a U.S. home game, but it was indeed one of the loudest stadiums they'd ever heard, with chants of USA and even the singing of the national anthem. So I had certainly prognosticated that a tie was possible against Portugal and perhaps even a win because they're, although ranked fourth in the world, they certainly are not playing to that level. But what we had was something very different. And the best description I can give you is I heard that now Americans know what it's like to be English, to have your hearts cut out and stomped on in the last 32 seconds of an event. So as most Americans know, I think Portugal tied in stoppage time the game. But what I'd like to do is turn to you to see what were some of your thoughts on the U.S. play in the game.
Yeah, if you want to talk about soccer, I think I messed up, Tom. I sent you that text with 2 minutes to go in the game, saying "woohoo!" like we got the win, and maybe that's exactly what happened with the U.S. squad. They just didn't finish it off. Interestingly, the thing that I actually saw was that Michael Bradley actually played a much better game. But he made a pretty crucial mistake right there at the end and losing it. He could have just kicked it out of bounds. It would have been much better play for us. But, at halftime, if we had said that we would be able to get out of this game with a tie, we would have been extremely excited by the possibility. Going down 1-0 in the first minute, it looked like the keeper actually fell down. Like the field itself was in pretty bad shape. He didn't even have a chance to really deflect it. So I was interested to hear if the players talked about the field conditions, and not many of them did. But emotionally, I thought the insight was pretty amazing. If you didn't look at the score and you look at the Ghana game, you'd think that Ghana would have killed us. And if you looked at this game, you would have thought the U.S. would have killed Portugal as far as the soccer game. So soccer is like that. It's a weird game of literally probably 10 seconds mistake that cost the U.S. a win and an automatic go through. So it's going to be quite an interesting match this Thursday with Germany. Not going to be an easy match at this time.
Well, I guess from a fan's perspective, I had a couple of observations. The first one, I was pretty irritated with Klinsmann because it seemed like to me with his starting unit, he was playing for a tie. And I think if you play for a tie, that's the best you can hope for. And you're probably going to lose. But for 94 minutes and 30 seconds, I was proved wrong. Because he put the best team on the field for that situation. And the chess moves he has made have turned out to just be fantastic. The other thing I learned is, in addition to having your heart cut out and stomped on, soccer is a game that you have to play the full 90 minutes or the full 95, whatever it may be. And if you let up for, as you said, 10 seconds, you can lose a match or have a match tied. And it doesn't matter how well you play the first 89 and 30 seconds. If you don't fully play and fully concentrate for the final 30 seconds, you're liable to lose. And Cristiano Ronaldo, whatever you may think of him personally, is just an incredible football player. And to me, it was demonstrated even more by the fact that I thought for 98 minutes and 30 seconds, or probably 98 minutes and 45 seconds, he played as pedestrian a game as could be played. And in one play, running full speed down the right-hand side, he delivered a cross at the only place he could to allow his teammate to head it in. And I was just stunned by how good he was in that moment. And just, it's head and shoulders, maybe Atlas head and shoulders above everyone else on the field.
The people continue to talk about that play. I mean, as a soccer coach and a soccer player, what you looked at is, okay, the throw in to the Bradley ball, which he mistouched, to the pass to Ronaldo, to, in this case, Beasley, played off of him about 10 yards, didn't even pressure him. And I don't know if that's a function of, Beasley didn't want to get burned by him, like he's going to go by him because he's that fast.
Right.
But he didn't pressure him literally on the cross at all. And so he actually had free time to do it. But this is, if we want to take it back to like sort of enhanced due diligence stuff and the whole idea of what we're trying to do here, this is like, taking your eye off the ball just for 10 seconds, right? And someone sneaks, a tie, a family relationship, a bad, political influence aspect of things, into the mix and changes the whole aspect of what we're trying to do from a compliance aspect of it. So compliance is fundamentally trying to look at the whole picture, put together things that allow for good behavior to occur, and this was a perfect example of taking your eye off the ball for that one part, and then getting penalized for it and getting punished.
Right. I went to the University of Texas, so I'm a big Longhorn fan. In 2009, Texas was one play away from an undefeated season, and that one play was a approximately 40-yard pass to Michael Crabtree on a sideline where he outran 3 Texas defensive backs to score a touchdown, and Texas Tech won and knocked UT from the undefeated ranks. And Texas quarterback Colt McCoy the next season said what he learned from that is you have to concentrate 100% on every play in every game of every season. And what I learned about soccer is you have to concentrate for the full 90 minutes plus stoppage time. And as you suggested, 10 seconds of not paying attention, not playing your best, being tired, whatever it was, cost the U.S. 3 points.
Well, that's the funny part about it is you look at the two U.S. scores. I believe the score that Portugal scored on was basically just a missed kick.
Right.
So you don't know if that was just a bouncing ball that was just weird or he lost concentration. The score that we had right off the bat from that was that Jermaine Jones on that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a tremendous shot from way out of the side. You could say that Portugal lost concentration, and so these are just mistakes that get made. Germany coming up tomorrow, they play. They have 2 sides of a field. If you want to talk about soccer, they have the kind of the triangle defensive section group that doesn't really come forward very far, doesn't come forward very fast. It's been really solid, and then they have that sort of front offensive side that terrorizes people, and so they actually have 2 sides of the field they play. Hopefully, we'll be able to take advantage of that midfield section, holding the ball, controlling the ball, getting balls into play, and letting our guys kind of make them make mistakes. It's a weird game. Soccer is a game of mistakes, not necessarily a game of really creative ways of doing things. So you can say it a couple different ways.
I was a little dismayed at the style Klinsmann had him come out as, but I guess he proved himself right. But I thought they were just counterpunching, and they were waiting for an opportunity. When that opportunity came, they broke, and they broke full speed, and we do have speed.
Right.
The other thing, I guess a couple of observations about the Germany game. One, if we have the same starting team, are they just going to be running the ground? I was dismayed to find out the location, which I can't remember the name of, where the U.S. tied Portugal. Teams that have played their next game after having played there are now 0-4 because it's so hot and so humid. So are we going to see some of the subs? We're going to see the same team. Then the other factor really is, Klinsmann. Here we have a guy who played for his national team and won a World Cup, coached for his national team and won a World Cup. Now he's over here singing the national anthem at the start of the game, wearing a USA shirt. And what I wonder is not, I know Klinsmann's enough of a competitor. He wants to beat Germany. That's not the question I have.
Right.
The question I have is, how much does Germany not want to beat him, but just thrash him? I mean, take him out and work him over because he's coaching America. And I don't know if that's fair or true, but that's the question I have.
You know, let me just say that I think the media makes a bigger deal of coaches than the players do. I don't think the players are going to care whether it's Klinsmann or XYZ is the coach. What I would say is this. Klinsmann came from that whole infrastructure, how they teach and run soccer. He knows how to beat Germany because he knows how to beat German teams. And this is the whole German sort of entourage and team orientation. So if there's someone in the world that I'd want to have as a coach that would teach our guys to beat Germany, it would be him. So I think we're very much advantaged at this point in time. And so, you know, it'll be interesting. Do we get a bounce and a ball comes into a person's foot like the Portugal guys did? Or, you know, is it going to be one of those, you know, close kind of matches that he knocks a few headers in and a few kicks in and all of a sudden we're killed, you know, 4-0. As far as the sub's concerned, I think he has a really strong possibility of bringing in pretty hard workers such as Aaron up top. I don't know what kind of defense and offense he's going to be organized. It's probably going to be very similar to the same offense shape that he's done the last 2 games. Frankly, you know, this is World Cup. 3 days rest, big time travel. Suck it up. Do it. I mean, that's just the way it works.
If you can't get up for this one, you don't belong there.
Right.
So, now, predictions.
I missed that. I'm sorry. What was that, Tom?
Predictions. Where do you think the score is going to be?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I don't think we can keep a clean sheet.
Right.
I don't think they can keep a clean sheet. I'm thinking 2-2 is probably the score, and if the U.S. goes up first, you know, they may go up 2-0, and then you know, hold on, and then Germany may tie them 2-2. What about you? What do you think the score is going to be?
Well, you remember back when they had the World Cup in South Korea and Tokyo, and we played Germany, I think, in the first knockout round, and we should have gone up 3-0 in the first half, but we didn't. We missed 3 shots. Right. I think it's going to be 1-1, and I think that the fact that both teams go through with a draw, I think will play psychologically somewhere in there. And if I say unless Germany just wants to spank Klinsmann for coming over here, I think that Germany probably will be satisfied with a draw because they move on to the next round.
I completely agree with you. I mean, I think what happens is, you know, you're going to say, okay, the first 45 minutes, make no mistakes. Be very conservative in everything that you do. So I can see that easily kind of putting the mindset of the players into place. Maybe Brad Evans will finally show his face. What do you think?
I certainly hope so. He's ought to be well rested. Good to see him on the bench.
You know, I think he. If there's going to be some switches, I would be switching the midfield.
Right.
I mean, frankly, you know, between the Bedoyas and Jermaine Jones, now he played a heck of a game. Between those guys, I think you could actually switch out a few of the midfielders get some extra play in there because the legs aren't tired. But and the young guys like Aaron, the one I really worry about actually being tired is Clint Dempsey.
Yeah.
He's the single guy that's been running up the top, trying to do some holding. It would be nice to actually have Josie back. This is the game that I would love to have Josie Altidore back, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty serious hamstring injury. I don't think we're going to be seeing him even if we move on.
Well, that's not what they're saying. They're saying that he's going to come back. So, and he's going to come back in this World Cup. So.
Yeah, I've had hamstring injuries. I know. Well, look, let's move to some of the other thoughts you've had. I guess the first observation I would have is I used to think the Olympics were the greatest sporting event in the world, and I'm not so sure anymore. This has been just incredible football. The truly world-class players have shown their world-class skills. Certainly Suarez, Ronaldo have just been incredible. Messi, I think I scored 2 goals today. It's just been fabulous. So what are some of your thoughts?
Oh, well, the funny part about it, I've been actually working, so I haven't been able to watch too many of this game.
Sorry to hear that.
But I think this World Cup in the U.S. at least has been outstanding. The play has been, to me, this is almost like a flipped World Cup where Italy's out, Spain's out. Some of the long-term players are out. And so. I think the quality of play has been really good. I think the interesting part is, even from your blog article about the referees, I think there's probably been only one game where, and it's the latest Uruguay game that they won, that really had a controversial play. Probably should have had a red card. Luis Suarez should probably be banned for probably a couple years, at best, for the biting, because I think that's his 3rd time, by the way.
Right.
And 3 times with us in due diligence is a pattern. Okay. So this is not a funny. It seems funny, right? It's like guys biting, but we don't know. HIPAA laws basically tell us that we don't know anything about him, but. You never know what he actually has as a health condition. So to protect the game and the integrity of the game, there should be some pretty harsh. He's a hell of a player, but there should be some really harsh penalties in this case for me.
Well, as a fan of the Liverpool FC, I have to say that you can ban him in as many World Cup games as you want. Don't ban him in the Premier League for 2 years.
Well, if it's FIFA, which is the governing body of this, and UEFA, which is one of the big parts of FIFA. FIFA has the responsibility of doing the banning, and that means pretty much all 6 conferences. So unfortunately, if he gets banned, he's going to get banned across the board. I feel so.
Yeah.
Interesting part, as you talked about with referees, was that I did follow the money if you look at the FIFA accounting for last year's 2013, they actually spent quite a bit of money in the $40 million range for new technology.
Right.
And so I do like that they are using new technology for some of, I guess, the goal technology. But I do think it's ridiculous that we have the number of games we have in a very short period of time, and we're not using professionally trained, high-level refs, and in this case, refs that have seen the kind of quality of play and the dives that people take. So, really would love to see that change in FIFA going forward.
Well, Mike, we're near the end of our time. I'm going to make this request of you. The next time the U.S. is up at 94 minutes into a game, please don't text me with a woohoo. I think you may have just jinxed the whole thing.
Yeah, I apologize. That was my fault.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. And obviously, go USA tomorrow. And I look forward to visiting with you next week. And hopefully, we'll be talking about the U.S.'s opponent in the knockout rounds.
That sounds great. Perfect.
Thank you, Mike.
Take care, Tom.